Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die, where my goal is to give you evidence that although our bodies will disappear, we survive physical death. When we aren't afraid of death, we are less afraid of life. From these episodes, I aim for all of us to take more risks in life, go after our dreams, have great relationships, and hopefully a lot of joy and fun in the process. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the international bestseller, We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And today, I am super thrilled to introduce you to Betty J. Eadie. Now, Betty, the name might sound familiar to you because Betty is the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller called Embraced by the Light. She has experienced one of the most profound and detailed near-death experiences ever recorded. Her book, Embraced by the Light, dominated the New York Times #1 slot for 78 weeks and has been translated into 40 languages. The Awakening Heart also became a New York Times bestseller, where Betty shares more about her near-death experience and her heart of how she overcame her own struggles, including a terrible depression, upon returning to this world. The Ripple Effect is Betty's first teaching book and an encyclopedia of answers to spiritual questions about the afterlife. Embraced by the Light Prayers and Devotions for Daily Living is a daily devotional of ongoing guidance and inspiration for each day's trials, triumphs, losses, and blessings. Betty has spoken to and worked with various groups, including the terminally ill, a prominent cancer research center, IANS, and eventually became a clinical hypnotherapist to help her connect with that eternal part of us all that is our spirit within our mortal body and can foster healing. Since having her visit to the spirit world and afterlife, Betty has worked tirelessly to help people learn that life does not end when we die, and has carried the message of God's unconditional love to millions all over the globe through her books, numerous television appearances, and radio interviews, as well as speaking events and various media. Her website is embracedbythelight.com, and we'll be getting to more of that at the end of the show. But right now, it is with so much joy that I introduce you to Betty Eadie. Hello, Betty.
Well, hello, and thank you so much for having me on your talk show. I think that this is a wonderful opportunity, again, to reach even more people with the message, and those who perhaps have already enjoyed some of my podcasts, which I am so behind on.
Oh, that happens.
But it's just so hard to keep up with it all.
It really is. But the good news is on my website, which is WeDon'tDieRadio.com, I will put a link not only to your Embraced by the Light, but to your YouTube site and your podcast. Because,
well, thank you.
You're welcome. One thing
Thank you so much.
found is that, and this is for me too, because Betty, I'm going to be honest, these shows are just as much for me as they are for you and for the listener. I think the more times we can hear stories, and especially different stories from different mouths about life after death and how to live a powerful life, the more it's easy to accept. We don't have to listen to that little voice in our head that's maybe a skeptic, and can really give us some power. So what I find happening, and this is through emails I'm getting from my listeners, is that people are listening to every episode because it's just we want more. And I already know, because I have your book, that I'll be wanting more. So I too will be tuning into your podcast. So it's just, and it's fun to share.
I don't think you ever tire. At least I know I don't, and I can tell by the sound of your voice that you certainly feel the same, and that is that you never can hear enough. I just before I got on the phone here, I was looking at my email, and some of the email that came to me just the last I don't know, a couple of hours, stories about their near-death experiences, story about their spiritual experiences, all about the mysteries and the miracles of God. And people want to know why me? Why were they suddenly in touch with something so profound? And it's exciting. And these are the days when the awakening. The reason I called my book "The Awakening Heart," because not just referring to my own, but we are in the awakening of spirituality in a greater way than ever before. And the veil between here and heaven is so thin that we are going to experience what lays actually what's on the other side in a greater way. And so, people are going to call them what they will. Basically, I just saw it during my near-death experience that there is this, we have reached a point of where we must make a change, and before that change, there's always the rubbing against the friction, the
Right.
problems, and we are in that now as a world, not just here in the U.S., but as a world. We are feeling that friction, we're feeling that heat, we're feeling that fire, and therefore on the other side, it's kind of their job to lessen that fear and anxiety by showing us more of what is on the other side. And I absolutely love your title that there, and I probably won't say this verbatim, but we do not die. There is no death ever. There is just a transformation from this body, dropping our robe of flesh and entering into everlasting, actually where we have always existed, but that we came here as spiritual beings as you would go away to college and enter into a course of study. And this particular world is where we learn to love
That's beautiful.
under difficult situations. And our love is tested all the time, as many will know. And the breaking up of families and all of that is all a part about love or the lack of love. And so the experience is very, very challenging, but we can do it. And that's what I will spend the rest of my life encouraging people to keep going forward and always put love first.
Oh, thank you for that. And you said right at the beginning, too, sometimes when we do have a huge breakthrough, and you're describing it like a shift in consciousness, things get really bad and things get really tough. And I think for many of us, we're in a part in our lives that maybe we can't see a way out, that there's a lot of pain. And you just gave me a bit of hope that sometimes when things get really tough, just on the other side is where that breakthrough is. That's when the loving experience is going to come or something. So not to give
Well,
up.
I think there's an old saying that says, it's darkest just before dawn. And I keep that in mind when I go through my trials, my struggles, and I think I'm at the bottom of the barrel or I'm at that darkest moment. But if I hang in there long enough, dawn is going to break, and it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be beautiful. Now, is it going to stay that way? Well, probably not.
Right.
Because, again, as I said earlier, we're actually in at a university for study. And there is always midterm, or there's always a test laying before us, and there's always work that we have to accomplish, and we just have to keep on keeping on. And again, we get our breaks,
We do.
and they can be absolutely wonderful. But if you live your life according to love, your love attracts love. And so you can continue to draw that powerful energy, because there is only one energy that heals. Our physical body or our mind, and that is love. And this is why many people on their deathbeds will wait until that one loved one shows up, or they are the reason why hospitals are allowing family to gather around the ill, because their love is an energy that is measurable. And so maybe not measurable by any particular mechanical thing,
right?
But you feel it. You walk into a room of love, and wow, you just light up like a light bulb. It's there.
Yeah, and it feels good.
It
does.
Yes.
Betty, will you tell us when? Oh, sorry, I don't want to interrupt
Go
you,
ahead.
but I just
No.
want to hear your story. There's many people that are like, "Oh, cool, she's got Betty Eadie on her show," and there's many that have never heard of you. And just maybe tell us your story.
Well, I'll give you a brief on it, because it is quite lengthy.
Mm-hmm. Give us
the reason for the book.
Yes.
I was. I'll give you a little bit of background.
Okay.
I'm Native American, Lakota Sioux, for those who know the names of Native people. And my mother was Lakota Sioux. My father was Irish, and that only plays into and helps any listener to understand the person that developed, from that came from that, me and my background. My mother was Catholic. My father was Lutheran, religious background.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as an Indian child, because when you're half, you're considered full, and I was taken from my home, from the family, and the government shifted all the Indian children into boarding schools. It was a Catholic boarding school. I was raised in boarding schools.
Wow.
Under the government rule. I learned in school that God, number one, hated heathens. He hated Irish, and we would be doomed to hell. Now, this is what they taught me. I was only 4. Yeah, I was only 4 years old. And so when you're raised up in that, you believe that that's true, because here are some goodwill people, so to speak, and they are teaching you that you are doomed to hell unless you live a straight line and just walk this narrow line, but more than likely you're still not going to make it. So that's my religious background.
Oh, my goodness.
I, at the age of 4, shortly after I was in the first boarding school, I actually had my first near-death experience, but I didn't understand it. I died of whooping cough and double pneumonia. And while in the hospital, I was held by this fantastic being of light, except for that he wasn't just a light, he was tangible. I ran my fingers through his beard. I was only 4, and he held me like a baby and in his arms and cradled me. And that was all that I remember. But that gave me an inner strength, I'm sure. I mean, I would take years of psychoanalysis
right,
to find
figure
out
it
for
out.
sure. But as I think back to what gave me some strength, because in an otherwise dysfunctional family, dysfunctional religious background, I had some inner strength. And I know that it had to have come from that. It just had to. But so I went through a lot of problems. Anyway, by the time I was 31 years old, I married when I was 15,
Wow.
just to get away from home and everything that was going on there. And by the time I was 31, after having had 7 children, I needed to go in for a hysterectomy.
Oh, my.
And I did. And it was during or after, following the surgery that day, that I hemorrhaged and I died. Now, at the moment of my death, and I could tell that I was dying, but I couldn't ring for the nurse because I was in such a weakened condition. It was during a shift of their schedule, so I was alone in the room. Mm-hmm. And I died, and I felt this motion inside me and heard a pop. I don't know what the pop means, but almost every near-death experiencer will say there's this loud sound. It's always a pop.
Interesting.
And I came up out of my body, and I came down pancaking the body, looking at it, and I thought, oh my God, I'm dead, but I'm not dead. I mean, my body's dead, but I'm not dead. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't understand what that was. Then I was able to, I wanted to see my husband and my children, and I was able to travel quickly from that hospital to my home and into the living room where my husband sat reading a newspaper and my children were running up and down the stairs. And I looked at the clock, and I was aware of Earth time, mm-hmm. and it was 9:45. My husband was sitting there. Kids were not in bed like they were supposed to be. And tell you quite honestly, I had feelings because I was just a little bit ticked off that he didn't keep his promise that he would have the children in bed at their usual bedtime. Yeah. Uh-huh. So I still had earthly feelings.
Right.
But as I watched my children, those feelings begin to leave me. I looked at each one, and I could see into their futures, and I knew that they would be fine without me. And because I was concerned about leaving them.
Of course.
And when I knew that they all would be fine, including my husband, then I returned to my body. And I began a journey that changed my life forever as I was spiraled down this long tunnel and into the most beautiful place that anyone could ever imagine. And not because of the visual. It was a black space. It was dark. If you've ever been camping and you've taken your hand and put it in front of your face to see in the middle of the woods and you can't even see your hand.
Right.
That was what I felt, I couldn't see, but what I felt was incredible love. Just bathing me and warming me, and I felt wonderful. And if I didn't move from that place ever, I would have enjoyed it for eternity.
Wow, that's lovely.
That's how wonderful it was. But a pinpoint of light came through, just pierced through this blackness, like a bright, bright spotlight, and it seemed to look for me and found me. And I was drawn into it. And when I came into the light, that is when I met Jesus Christ. Now, I know that's startling for a lot of people. It was startling for me. I would never have imagined being in, I just can't tell you how I would not have imagined being in his presence, much less him loving me. And yet he embraced me and held me and laughed while he was holding me.
Wow.
The most wonderful chuckle that any person, if you've ever been held by someone chuckling and you feel their body movement, that was Jesus. And I just couldn't believe it, and I knew who he was. I asked him about the nail prints in his hands because, of course, that's what I was taught, and that's what I saw in all the Catholic churches.
Yes.
And he said, but you don't need to see my pain to know who I am.
Wow.
And I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm glad that I didn't need to see his pain to know who he, who he is. And he just loved me, and I oddly enough, I chastised him for having had to come to Earth. And I said, do you know what I went through, the Indian boarding schools and all the terror that I experienced? And he said, all to make you who you are today.
Wow.
And I didn't understand that at the moment.
No.
I really didn't. I only understand now as I look back. But he went on, and there's a lot more, but he went on to have me experience the heavens. And I saw a waterfall that was beautiful, and every little droplet of water had a tone in it as it rippled over the water, or the rocks. And I understood that each tone was singing praises unto God. And I had imagined when I was a kid, when the churches spoke about going to heaven and singing hallelujahs forever, I thought, oh, how boring, because for one thing, I don't sing very well, or I did then, but I didn't want to sing hallelujahs. And then I thought, what an egotistical God that he would want us to sing hallelujahs to him forever.
Right.
I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah, I went to Catholic school myself.
So I couldn't believe it. But then I saw how we glorify God. He is an evolving being, just as we are his, because we are his creation, and we are evolving. God is evolving. And what we do to bless him, whatever we do good, blesses him as well. Just as children bless their parents when they evolve into greater men and greater women through their own works. And, I mean, just all of this came to me so quickly, not just the questioning of it, all the questions of it, any thought of it, but all the answers just poured into me.
Wow. I never thought of an evolving God. I'm just thinking of that with everything I've learned. God is God. But what a beautiful picture in my mind.
Right.
That's really
And he wants
cool.
us to evolve. He wants us to become like he is, just as parents that have already mastered being a parent, a good parent. And then they want to teach their children, look, I did that and that wasn't a good thing, and so I did this and this worked. Same way God works through our lives. He allows us to you see, anything that we internalize is earned through experience.
Yes.
Knowledge is only acquired through experience. I mean, osmosis, you can learn a lot of things, but it is not internalized until you have experienced it for yourself. And then that experience, you own it. It becomes a part of your essence forever. Osmosis is not a part of your experience.
Well, it's like learning something in a textbook and then leaving school and then learning it on the job.
Exactly.
It becomes you. It becomes in your DNA when you actually have the action.
Absolutely. And I learned a lot about DNA and cellular memory. The memories of your parents become your own. Everything about, and this goes back generations, and this kind of explained to me why many people feel that they were reincarnated. I was told way back by a psychic that I was Mary Queen of Scots. Well, maybe she got that because she understood I was part Irish, right?
Right.
So at a speaking event, a woman said, Betty, you don't speak well of reincarnation. And I said, no, I don't. I do know some people will come back to Earth as a teacher, and they may reincarnate, but not all of us. We just don't. I was told that. And she said, well, I am reincarnated. I said, you're reincarnated as, She says, I'm Mary, Queen of Scots. I said, really? I says, I can give you one good reason why you're not. She says, why? I said, because I am. You see, our blood runs. I just had my DNA done, through the Amazon, or not Amazon, but through, what's it called?
Oh, the website, that Ancestry.com?
Yeah, Ancestry.com. I just had mine done. And it's amazing. I mean, I thought, I've got to do this. I tell everyone I'm half Indian, I'm half Irish. Well, you know what? We're all pretty much related because the Indians came from Asia, they came from here, they came from there, they migrated, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's awesome. And it's just amazing. And so we are all brothers and sisters under the same God that created us. And it's powerful.
It sure is.
It really is powerful. But I experienced the many worlds that God created. Now, this is before our scientists found that there are many worlds, many universes. They didn't know this back when I had my near-death experience. So when I spoke about it, everyone thought I was really, truly nuts.
Yeah, of course. When was this? Was it in the 90s?
It was in the 70s.
Oh, it was in the 70s. Okay.
Right. The book came out in the 90s. They still thought, early 90s, they still thought I was nuts because they hadn't heard about it until about 96. And then scientists had this great discovery that there are many, many worlds, there are many, many universes. And I knew that back in 1970. I'm not saying that to brag. It's just that it gave me such joy. I was at a beauty salon when I was getting my hair done. Same woman, years and years and years, and she knew my experience frontward and backwards because she would quiz me every time I'd go there.
That's funny.
And so when I showed up, she had the magazine, Science magazine, and so she flips it right down on the desk beside me. She says, there you go. And I looked at it, and there it was. Science prove that all of this is going on. And so here are these people just kind of excited to validate, show me some validation of what I've experienced.
But you knew it was the truth.
Oh, I knew it was the truth. And my husband said, I can't even imagine it. There's more. I mean, there's so more. We could almost do another show just about all the stuff. But
at least one. It would be probably more than that.
Yeah, and it's just it's just kind of incredible to see everything that I was shown in what I call heaven unfold even today. And so it's it's validation, for me and my experience. And as I have shared it in my books, others who have read it, they email me, they let me know that, Betty, you said this, and here it is. And it's not because I said it. What was exciting or wrote about it, what's exciting to me is that, what's interesting to me is why did they share it with me? Why was I to know unless I am to share it? And that's why I continue to do this work. I'm 72 years old. I expected to be gone long time ago.
Your work's not done yet.
It's not done yet. And so who is it that I'm going to reach? Well, I just signed a contract with Ridley Scott Productions to begin work towards the film.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about it. And I've withheld all these years because I needed to have someone to work with that understood why Embraced by the Light, the movie, needs to be Embraced by the Light, the book, or as written in Embraced by Light, the book.
Yes.
because I don't know how you are, but I if I find a book that I love and then go see the movie and they've changed things,
Yes.
it's very disappointing.
It is
Very
very, very
disappointing.
disappointing.
Yeah, and Embraced by Light is going to be hard actually to to write a screenplay for. I
Hmm.
wrote one. I gave it to the Ridley Scotts, but I'm not a professional
Right.
screenplay writer, so they're going to get someone to work with what I wrote and bring it up to Hollywood standards. But the best part is that I retained the control
Excellent.
of what goes in the movie. So I don't want anyone to ever disbelieve what I say or what I write, because I hold that responsibility very near and dear to my heart. I mean, it is my spirit's goal to share what was shared with me to tell, and I wouldn't want to mislead or send anyone into a wrong direction.
That's awesome. And it's so evident just by you being here today that you just say yes, because even if it's one person you make a difference with, you just never know.
You never know.
You never
That
do.
you're right. You never
You
know.
never know who's listening, or you just
Or
never know
why.
the transformation that can happen. I've seen people, even with my own book, choose not to commit suicide because of my words. And
Yes.
now they're out making a difference for someone else. And it's like, I don't take the credit as me, Sandra Champlain. Those are my words, but it's
Right.
my experiences, I believe my dad had a hand in it too from the other side. But just the power. And so to just say yes to everything and make a difference and just trust that it's going to land in the ears and in the movie's case, in the eyes of the right people. And I do think this is the time. I mean, even just having.
I believe that, and I believe that whenever, I believe in them. What they showed me, of course, on the other side was a matrix. I'm gonna call it matrix because people
Okay,
can get the visual on it.
right.
But it's similar to what you would imagine an energy field would look like surrounding the world, like a net. And for every good thought, it goes out like a radio signal. For every negative thought, that goes out. And they start tapping into other negative thought until it continues to build. And then someone who is very negative might draw all of that into them because they become a conduit, or a source to be landed upon. Can can you
I
get the
do.
picture? All right, and the same thing then is true for what you put out there in your book. Is if it's blessed that one person and kept them from suicide, that it's going to ripple out. There are going to be more. I can't tell you how many people not only did not commit have an abortion, but who did not take their own life because embraced by light.
Oh, that's
There are too
beautiful.
many to even mention, and it's not my work. I mean, I
No.
think, okay, it's, to me, it's the creator. It's my experience. I don't certainly I don't live up to any perfect standards, and but I glory in it, in that I still marvel and wonder at the beauty of God's creation and how He inspires people like yourself to feel that empty void. Because before you can create anything, there has to be a void, a space for it.
Hmm.
And so you were drawn into that void to create your book. There was a place for it, ripe and ready for it. And that book is going to be used to do wonderful things, because there are many people out there who are afraid of death, they're afraid of dying. They need to know that there is no death, that life continues after this earth, and it's no more difficult than they can imagine when they have their bathrobe on getting ready to get in the shower. You wouldn't get in the shower with your bathrobe on.
No.
So you slip your robe off and drop it, or you hang it, whatever you do. But that's what it's like when you get out of your body. Just like that. Simple. Easy.
Simple, easy. No
Yeah.
pain, just
No
like
pain
moving
and
from one door into another room.
exactly. Except for you have that weight off of you, and that's why I use the idea of a bathrobe.
Bathrobe.
Because you're letting something go. And that is the past, that is your body. You have graduated. And another thing, and that is that you're not going to go back until it's your time. Because God is in control of that. And if it's your time to go, nothing's going to keep you here. Nothing's going to prevent it. You're just going to go. Otherwise, everyone would say, I was driving down the road and I almost got hit. Well, you almost, but why didn't you?
Right. Not your time.
It's not your time.
Did
And at the time of death, there's no pain. So there's no pain in death. There is pain in staying. There's pain in recovery.
yes. There's
No pain in death.
Betty, did you experience what so many people experience as like a life review and seeing angels or deceased loved ones? Any of that?
I did. I had to see that. Everyone will need to go through a life review, I was told, because it's through the life review that you, you see the harm that you've done. You experience everything in your life that you've done to others. If there's no repentance or forgiveness, that's where that comes in. And I experienced some of that. It wasn't pleasurable at all. But at the end of the life review, you will experience the ripple effect of it.
What do you mean?
So, well, like this one woman I met, she had an NDE. She was actually in college. She was walking to campus late at night when she felt someone hit her back several times, like a fist. And she lost consciousness. And then she said the next thing she knew, she was floating above her body, watching as this man was stabbing her in the back.
Oh, my.
He drug her into the bushes. He slit her fist, or her not her wrist, but her throat. He made attempts at slicing her throat. He did all kinds of things to her, raped her. While she was observing this, she wasn't experiencing it. She was watching it. And she said she was told that this man, if she didn't come back to her body, that this man would be found guilty, of course, and he would be sent to prison for murder, and he would never have an opportunity to change his ways. But if she came back, that he would have that opportunity. She came back into her body. And she said, I don't know why I did. She says, I was like another person. All I felt was love. And I felt love for this man who assaulted me. Because he had been assaulted. And she was able to see into his life and see what brought him to this horrible point of abusing her. And she forgave him. And she came back. She came to one of my speaking events. And it was after the event when she come walking up and she was dragging a leg, and she whisper was all she could do, because she was in her 30s now, so it had been some years, but she was still maimed. Now she says, what happens? She says, when he dies. I said, if he has not made that right with himself and with God, he is going to experience everything that you experienced.
Oh.
You know, in the Bible where it says 10 times whatever the amount, I forget now, but
yes.
Yeah, you're going to experience the whole ripple. He's going to experience her pain. He's going to experience she was an only child. He's going to experience the pain of her mother, the pain of the father, the pain of the relatives, every pain until every last drop of pain from that particular deed has been experienced.
Ouch.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Yeah. It all must be reversed. And the same thing happens. And by the time I couldn't stand anymore my life
Uh-huh.
review, I didn't commit any heinous crimes or do anything like that, but I was mean to people and said hurtful things, and I
Sure.
had to feel their soul and what they felt at the moment when I stung them with my quick tongue. And it was painful to me,
Of
very
course.
painful. And then I got to experience all the kind deeds I did and how they rippled out.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
And they told me that in the end, I'm feeling pretty good now. And they said, you've been too harsh on yourself.
mm,
Harsh. That's the word they use, harsh.
hmm
I never used that word before then. And I thought, too harsh? What? Well, that's where, when you have a conscience, sometimes you browbeat yourself, you beat
Yes.
yourself for all your mistakes.
Right.
Well, they said I was too harsh on myself and I needed to lighten up. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I thought, how wonderful that is. That's wonderful. So when I see then and hear from people who Embraced by Light has brought some comfort or transformed their life, and they'll say, I know you've heard this many times before, but I just had to tell you, and I hope you don't get bored. I'm just going, don't get bored. Are you kidding me? You are my lifesaver.
That's
It's
oh,
like, ka-ching, this is another experience I'm going to experience as a wonderful experience on the other side.
that's fantastic. Can
Yes,
we
it is.
make amends here so that we don't have to go through such
Absolutely. And this is what actually most of the churches teach, and that is whatever amends you can make. Some people, they'll suffer because they're past the ability to make an amend. But if you can go to someone you've hurt and you tell them that you're sorry and mean it, you're sorry. And whether they accept that or not, that's up to them.
hmm,
But you have to mean it from your heart and just say, you know what I said was a very hurtful thing, and please forgive me, I'm sorry. That's up to them. If you've stolen something, return it and apologize for it. There's a scripture that said, confess your sin to men. Um, Catholics always thought you had to go to confession.
yes, I know about that.
Okay, all right. Um, when you confess your sin to men, let's say that you did something that was
hmm
not not really hurtful or harmful or whatever, but you just felt like you had to tell someone.
Yes.
Let's say you told me. Do you know and I know you've done this to other people, to your friends, your relatives. Once you get it out of your mouth that it was not a good thing, you feel this weight come off your chest.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is the psychology of releasing that built up negativity so you can open that channel, that flow of serenity and peace and just let it flow. And so we can confess our sins by going to a person that we feel that we have done wrong.
hmm
We can ask for forgiveness. Whether they forgive us or not is on them. It may take them a while to forget. And so you can't judge them. Say, okay, you haven't forgiven me. It's on you. No, It might take them a while to forget it. So you don't judge them. You just have to do your part and make right any wrong that you can make right. And the others, you have to, and then you have to forgive yourself. Ask forgiveness to God. But the hardest part is forgiving yourself.
It
And
it resonates with me when you said you were harsh with yourself because I have had more people tell me that they can't believe how hard I am on myself, and I would never be that way on someone else.
Well,
And
you expect more out of yourself because you know what's in you.
right.
You don't know what's in them, and which is a good sign, because when you're harsh on yourself, it's because you know better. You know you can do it. You know that you can rise above. You know all of that,
Well,
and so you.
yeah, I think there's one side of that that's true, but there's also a side of me that looks in the mirror, not lovable, not good enough, not smart enough, that kind of harsh.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I went into to became a clinical hypnotherapist,
Mhm.
because many people, like myself, grew up with people telling me I'm not good enough, and I'm not this low self-esteem, low
Sure.
self-worth, and that usually comes from early, way early in childhood. You learn all of that, by the time you're 3, 4 years old. Pretty much what you know about yourself is kind of established, and the rest confirms it. So the rest
Mhm.
of your life, and it's confirmed because you believe that you bought into a lie, and they showed this to me actually in heaven as well,
Hmm.
that we came to earth as an empty vessel, just pure, innocent, and ready for preparation, I guess, to live the life that we are going to live through the parents that we chose.
Right.
We needed to have a little bit of them in us, because you fight fire with fire.
Uh-huh.
And so little by little, they each one poured of themselves into us by their words, by their deeds, by their actions, their body language. All of this is poured into our vessel. Our siblings, our teachers, our schoolmates, they also confirm who we are, who we think we are. And at some point in adulthood, you just need to pour all that out and say, you know what? They thought that of me because they didn't know me. And I lived a lie by trying to live the person that they told me I was. Now I'm going to rethink who I am,
Mhm.
and I'm going to create the person I want to be. And then you do that instead, because now you're in control of your own thought. Now, you don't want to get rid of everything, because everything that's poured into you prepares you for the tough times ahead
Sure.
if you were raised in a tough situation.
Right.
And so you become thankful for it. And everything you have to be grateful for and bless, and it will bless you. And that's what I've had to do, because I was raised in Indian boarding schools. I don't know of a tougher place to be raised.
No.
I really don't. These are kids that have been abused. These are kids that abuse. They were angry. They were taken away from their families, and they lost hope. And had I not had this near-death experience, I can't even imagine, my life. I really can't even imagine what that might have been. So, again, removing any judgment of anyone else's life,
Right.
I see my experience as a plus factor in my life, and also a mission that I will continue to perform until I'm taken home. And when I finish that mission, which I hope it's the movie, because I'm so excited to,
Oh, that's a big deal. That's so
yeah,
exciting.
yeah, it's exciting, and here's what I want to do. I want to visit as many theaters as I can,
That's great.
and sit in the back and watch the people embrace.
Oh,
I really do.
that's
Now,
great.
whether or not I let them know that I'm there, I don't know if I have enough guts to do that. But I just want to. It's a dream. it's my wish. I just want to do it. I just want to sit up there and just absorb them and their feelings. And so that's how I want. That's how good I want this movie to be. I want them to sense and feel a touch of heaven that I brought back. Just a
Oh, you
touch.
gave me goosebumps. Well,
Yeah.
we all want that. Betty, did you experience any people or any pets or any vision? I mean, I know it's almost impossible because we haven't been there, but is
Yes.
there a
Yes, I did. Hmm.
vision of heaven that maybe you could describe that? Because there's some people listening here that have been told themselves or a loved one only has a few days left, or there's a lot of fear, and to just know that it's going to be okay.
Well, it is going to be okay. And the thoughts on the other side, first off, when you pass and you're on the other side, are not really going to be about your loved ones here on earth.
No?
You don't grieve for them.
Hmm.
Now, you do look after them because we have this eternal connection with our loved ones. And so, yes, they do. They can come and forewarn you of something that you may need to be protected from. They can come and help you. Well, people know that. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
just
I
they can
just
do
want to
this in various ways.
I
They
just
can
want
do
to
this.
hear it. I know, but I want to hear it.
Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah,
do. And
yeah. Tell us this.
I felt my husband here just a few months ago. He died 4 years ago, and I walked into my closet. It's a walk-in closet, and but the door is kind of at an angle or something because you walk in, it automatically closes. It just swings strange.
Oh, okay.
And but when I walked in, the door swung shut, and the lights went off.
Oh.
So I'm in this closet, no window, of course, and it's just pitch black. I felt his presence because the day he died, the only other time that that light went out was and did this exact same thing when I went into the closet to change clothes. The door shut and the light went off. Exactly the same thing occurred, and that's 4 years. I mean,
Right.
I walk into my closet a
Every
lot.
day. Sure.
Every day. So now it could be my subconscious mind making the connection, but when your spirit feels the essence of another spirit, you know it's different.
Yes.
You know, you really do know. And my daughter said that he loved blue jays, and she said you see them all the time here, but she says this particular one she felt something from, and it just walked right alongside her. And so whatever we tap into like that, I just say follow your heart, feel your spirit. If it feels right to you, then it's right. And so because the way that they make contact, it can vary in so many different. I mean, it's just you just can't say the only way they're going to appear is a ghostly figure or this, that, or the other. There are so many ways that the people from on the other side will make that contact. It'll be the perfect contact for each individual, so you'll know.
Oh, I have another question.
Hmm.
Only because I got myself into a lot of hot water by writing this in my book.
Uh-oh.
Well, besides having my book, I'm also a chef, and
Okay.
I own a chocolate shop. And
Mm.
inside the book, I say something like, "There's no chocolate in heaven." Now, I say that, and what I meant by that, so I'm coming clean here, and this is, I don't push my beliefs on anyone. I don't say it's the truth, but my idea and my thought is while we're here on planet Earth, we have a body and we have the five senses. So my thought was while we're here on Earth, use our eyes and see the beautiful sunrise. Use our ears and hear the beautiful music. Use our tongue and taste the chocolate. Use our touch and feel the embrace of a hug. So we get something here on earth having the five senses. So what I was trying to say is to live in the present moment, to experience, instead of being how often we're all in our heads and not paying attention to the human being right in front of us. So by saying there's no chocolate in heaven, what I was trying to say is really experience our body while we have it now. So here's the question, and I'm quite okay with being wrong, but is there a sense of having a body, of experiencing touch and sight and smell and taste in heaven? One lady said to me, if there's no chocolate in heaven, means that I can't hug my child when I get reunited. And I felt awful because that wasn't what I meant. But do you have any words of, is there that sense of comfort, of those senses?
There is all of that, but it's heightened.
Okay, so
our senses are so increased that it's incredible. I can't even describe it. They are so awesome. And when you talked about, you mentioned chocolate. That's I don't even know how to tell you this. When my husband passed, and I walked into the closet, and I needed to get dressed so that when the morticians and whatnot came for his body, I'd have clothes on. So I went into the closet. The door shut. The lights went off, and as I stood there, I felt as though, and I can only describe it, and I've told everyone, so you're not the first to hear this, but I told everyone because it just blew me away that this white milk chocolate just seemed to pour over me.
Wow.
And its warmth and its lightness and its beauty. I mean, it was just like milk chocolate. I mean, I didn't know how else to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out of my closet 45 minutes later, fully dressed. The light never came back on. And so I lost 45 minutes of whatever was going on because I just walked in, the lights went, door shut, the light went off. I was covered with white milk chocolate and walked out fully dressed. Now, in my closet, if anyone were to walk in there, they'd say, oh, my gosh, she needs to do something about this closet. I wouldn't be able to find... I don't know what I wore that day, but I wouldn't have been able to match up a pair of pants with a shirt
Right.
or a blouse or anything.
Especially in the dark.
Yeah, especially in the dark, covered with all this chocolate. And I just came out, but I had such peace and feelings of serenity. You just would never. You just couldn't even imagine it. All right, and I'm going to tell you one more thing. This is going to be really odd, and I haven't told anyone publicly about this, so I'll leave you with something
some
special.
Juicy nugget. And when I'm watching the movie, I can remember this. She told me first. Go ahead.
You're going to be the first to know about
Okay.
this, only because you got such a hassle about your chocolate, okay?
Yes.
All right, so now that was 4 years ago when my husband passed. Well, not too long ago, within the year, this 6 months, 7 months, something like that. Now, my husband that just passed, he and I, we were married almost 50 years. But before that, I was married briefly, 6 years, 5 years, something. And we didn't have a whole lot of contact or anything. But anyway, after just 6 months ago, I get a phone call. Now get this too, on my husband's birthday.
Wow.
The phone rings. It's my ex-husband.
Wow. The one you married when you were 15?
Right.
Wow.
And he said, Betty, is there a chance that I could get to see you and the children? We had 3 together.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had 4, but one died. He says, and they're in their 50s. We're talking about 50 years now.
Oh, boy.
And he says that I could see them before I die, before I pass. He says, I have 1 week. He says, I just got out of the hospital. They found him dead in his home and took him to the hospital, revived him, and now the doctor says he has about a week. And I said, I'll call them. We'll find out. So I grab them, and of course, they went. I mean, they're very loving children, and
Yes.
they didn't know him all that well, but they went. And I says, let's just go. I mean, we've got to do this out of the kindness of our heart, and we did. And he hesitated, but we ended up being there 6 weeks. He didn't die.
Oh.
I know. And so I know it sounds terrible, but
No.
we were there, and I told him we're going to just give him all the love of family and whatnot
That's beautiful.
until he goes. But here's the thing. He said, I had what you wrote about, and I never believed. He says, I didn't believe in your near-death experience.
Oh.
He said, people would ask me about it, and I just tell them I don't believe it. He says, because I never believed in God. And for one, and he says, and when you die, you die.
It's over.
Yeah, it's over. He says, until I died. And he went on to describe that when they sent him back, that he was covered with not white chocolate, but brown chocolate, just regular chocolate.
Huh.
So what does chocolate have to do with that? Then I receive an email from a woman that's talking about chocolate. And I thought, I don't know. And so this is something that's very curious. I'm curious about. I think what might happen is that our minds are so powerful, and we have a wonderful experience, like I did in my closet, of that peace and the warmth and the beauty of, maybe that is what my mind created. So I can go so far as to say that could be a creation of the mind. But do all people choose chocolate? And I don't know.
Interesting.
But I have heard from many people that yes. So I'm afraid your theory may be wrong, but then on the other hand...
But that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay being wrong, and I assert that while we're here with this body, to live in the present moment and experience with all of our senses, because far too often, and I think that you've probably heard this too, regrets that people have is they weren't present to certain things happening. I mean, I even
Absolutely.
go to a restaurant.
Yeah, and you're right about the body. We have to use our bodies were given to us to experience life, and we should use it to the max.
Yeah.
And be grateful for every for our abilities, no matter what, even the disabled. They're just so much better off if they show gratitude for what they do have.
Yeah, gratitude is
right. Gratitude is just an absolute must for everything. And I have a daughter who became paralyzed after having a knee surgery, and
oh boy,
I marvel at her gratitude and for her abilities that she still maintained. And the nerves have we have the power of using our mind to heal any part of our body if we can believe it. And working with her, she's been able to walk again. She is getting her feelings back in her body, and that's because she has the will and the mind to do it. And a mother that refuses to believe that that's all there is.
Yeah, you're a good mom to have. Our time is coming to an end, Betty, but I found a quote of yours on the internet, my favorite place to research, and you had mentioned something about this earlier on, and I'm just wondering, I'm going to read the quote, and just if you can leave us some Words of wisdom, because I think this is juicy. You wrote, and I think this is you because it's quoted by you.
Okay.
If we understood the power of our thoughts, we would guard them more closely. If we understood the awesome power of our words, we would prefer silence to almost anything negative. In our thoughts and words, we create our weaknesses and our strengths.
Amen. And yes, I did write that. And
Mm-hmm.
that is absolutely true. And, our doctors are finding that out that is true as well. When you listen to the words people speak, they literally declare the ailment. Um, like, let me see. Again, going back to my speaking event, I always say, at the time when I did my research on the internet and other places, I found out that the number one item bought in any drugstore was Preparation H. You know what that is,
I
right?
do.
And do you know the word that would cause them to have to go to the store to buy it? People are always saying you're a pain in the butt,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And in other words,
Correct.
yeah. Or, oh, my stomach, you make me sick. Or, they will even take and touch their stomach. So you're not only saying what is sick in you, you're touching it and declaring it. In other words, you are a co-creator with God. We all are. And we use our words to create. You can create a thought in another person's mind just by manipulating things in a certain way. And again, while I went into hypnotherapy, I learned that the power of the mind is so wonderful. God created us in such a beautiful way. If you can think it, you can become it, no matter what it is,
Oh,
good,
that's
bad, or indifferent.
good news.
Yeah. So you must be aware of your thoughts, because the thoughts are seeds, and by your words you're declaring it, and by your actions you are planting it. It is there.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have to be so careful and trust me and believe me, I don't do it all the time myself.
Oh,
It's
I know.
very, very challenging, but it's something to keep in mind and to work on it at all times.
Oh, thank you so much. I know, Betty, there's so much more we could talk about, and um, but the bottom line is, I'm sending you like a big thank you. I love you. You are to me an inspiration of who I want to become with my message. And you had said earlier, why did I get this and why did this happen to me? And I have this funny visual that, God floating around with these big missions. Well, these two gals have pretty big mouths, They love
Well, I
people.
think, yeah, no, I'm sure that what happened is we volunteered.
I know.
Yeah, he says, okay, I need this done, that done, and this done, and we're going, I'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Oh, there's going to be some pain
Exactly.
involved. Oh, that's all
Yeah,
right.
that's all
I'm
right. I can
tough.
handle it.
I'm tough. I love people. I can share. Oh, but I really want to thank you. And I'm excited just to continue connecting with you, to share who you are with the folks that have stumbled upon We Don't Die Radio.
Right.
And just to share, because there's so much strength in numbers, and it feels good not only to just have listened to you for the past hour, but I get this visual of like this army being created of those of us who somewhere deep inside we knew this is the truth, we knew that there's a higher purpose. A lot of people have had near-death experiences, I found,
Oh,
that have
yeah.
never told anybody because they were afraid of what people would think. But to create this safe place that, no, This is real. This is good. Have the courage, speak it. And the more this army gets created, army for the good, the more lives will be impacted, the more faith we'll have, the more healing will occur, the more forgiveness, and ultimately, like you say, being here on earth, the more love will be generated, and the more love we give, I know the more love we receive. So, Betty, thank you for being just such a foundation and such a, gosh, just a giving, generous soul. You will never see. Oh, maybe I'll take that back. Because when you have your life review,
Right.
you will be right there in the seats of every person seeing that movie in every theater
Absolutely.
around the world for eternity. And you will get the difference that you've made on planet Earth and in so many lives. So thank you for that.
And thank you, Sandra, for giving me this opportunity to just go through it all again and to reach whomever.
Yeah.
Because we are all very important to God, and to me, the right people are here listening.
Yes. And this is to our listener who spent the last hour with Betty and I. Thank you for your time. Thank you for just being on the edge of your seat and listening. And I do hope it's made a difference in your life. I think it has, because it has in mine as well. And Betty can be reached. You can go to her website, embracedbythelight.com, and also on my website, wedon'tdieradio.com. I have a picture of Betty. I have her website link, also the link to the podcast, and she's got some YouTube videos, and I'll have them all right there. So this is Sandra Champlain. I've been your host. And as a reminder, I believe that life is an education for the soul and that your life here on earth is important. And as Betty just told us, really practice love. Make amends. I know we all have some. We won't wait till that life review to feel them. And really watch our thoughts, watch our words, speak positively. Keep our mouth shut if we're thinking something negatively. But most of all, have a great day and let's just be grateful for having this time together. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening.